Good day, everyone. My name is Tyson Villeneuve. I'm here with Erika,
Hello.
Justin,
Hello.
and Kelsey.
Hello.
One day we'll come up with some neat little tag names or something to make that more interesting, but not yet. Not yet. They got to come organically, and we haven't been doing this long enough. No. This is the Dev Report, Ep02. We will be discussing our updates for Sunset of Lievnos over the course of, I guess, December, over the last month. So the naming is a little bit weird because the date is January, so it's the Dev Report episode for January, even though we're talking about what's happened last month.
Why is that weird?
Because shouldn't we call it the Dev Report for December? Because it's the...
Yes, that's exactly what we should do.
Is it?
Yeah.
Shit. Because I've already called the last one the Dev Report for December.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because it was the December episode. Like, which way do we go with it?
Oh, I know. We really do need to work on our intros. So yeah, basically, I guess you could say, Dev Report number whatever, and then say we are reviewing.
Yeah.
Progress from December 2016.
We'll figure that out, and you'll know about it once it happens.
Well, this will be so much smoother.
Yeah. So anyways, so I guess we will start there with the actual update. I do have another topic that I want to talk about afterwards. So, do you wanna give your update first, or?
Sure, because there's really not much to report.
Okay, here we go.
As per usual.
Well, I did notice you did post a few things on the Instagram. So some banner flags, which are looking great.
Well, yeah, I mean, because I had some time off over the holidays, I just decided to take a day and do some stuff, and that's what I did. So
cool.
Yeah.
Because we need... Now, what did we say? There's in the ballpark of... Well, there's about 7 or 8 core families, but then there's... Well, I guess we won't need banners for every family.
No, but I think we'll probably end up having one for them anyways. And
yeah, maybe. Yeah, so we'll probably need in the ballpark of 30 or 40.
I mean, I really enjoy doing them, so there's going to be a lot more than that probably.
Oh, well, here's the other thing is that because we have the content creation tool,
yeah,
right, which is going to allow anybody to create their own scenarios and create, rearrange characters and even put their own characters in. I think if we, as on our end, we can provide our players with resources to create their own things. And so the more the merrier, quite frankly. If they sit there unused by our scenario, then they're still assets that our players could create a new scenario with.
Well, yeah, and I think I'm probably actually doing more than I should be because I'm in like medieval heraldry, there's more than just flags, right?
Right.
Which is kind of what you would use to designate the family in which I'm doing. But at the same time, I'm also doing arms, which is the shields, and then personal crests too. So some of the characters will have crests that are just for them. And there'll be characters that don't have crests because they're not very important. And then there's going to be shields, which also have family markings on them, and so we can
integrate those
really,
in different ways.
Yeah, and it can get really complicated, and it's probably not necessary for that.
Right.
But we'll see. I mean, it's just they're very small illustrations, so it's easy to do a lot of them.
Yeah.
It's just they take a lot of time because you to think about, right? It's like because the design aspect of them is pretty intense. Mm-hmm. But I mean, really, if I wanted to get really into it, I would actually be, doing it the traditional way, which is to think about the family name and then relate that somehow to the design of the crest, because that's how that's supposed to be done. Mm-hmm. And a lot of crests are like puns. So, whatever the name of the family is or the name of the person is, their family heraldry is a pun on that name, right? So... But
which works great for real life because it's real life, but it's
right.
like cheesy as hell in a game.
Well, it can be, and it's really
not that
difficult.
I care.
It's really difficult since we've made up all of these names. Like they really have no relation to reality.
Although we
whatsoever.
did find a few interesting coincidences. What was that one where there was a part of the word within one of the words?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember what that was?
I don't. That was a long time ago. I did that research. I'll have to look that up again because
darn it.
Because we actually did. I did go in and I did some in-depth Googling, I guess is
Well,
what you would
we
call
didn't want to like put a name in that actually had some crazy meaning that we didn't know about. So we
Right.
threw our words
Yeah.
into Google just to make sure that they were like not something offensive somewhere or something
Right,
like
yeah,
that.
exactly.
But the cool thing is we actually found a few coincidences with some of the characters that we had already designed,
That's
gave
right,
them that
yeah.
name, and the name meant something similar.
Right,
Or
yeah.
there was a root in there.
Yeah.
We'll dig that up and maybe share that next time if we
Yeah,
can find
because
it.
it was pretty neat.
It was cool.
Yeah, and we should do more of it, probably.
Yeah, it was pretty neat.
So, yeah.
And then integrate that into the stories and
Well,
stuff.
I mean, it's just another way to add more reality to
Yeah,
it, I guess you could say.
authenticity
Yeah,
to it.
authenticity.
Sure.
Yeah, that's right. That's the word.
Yeah, something that like it's subtle in our culture.
Yeah.
But when people see it on the other end, there's still an impression.
That's
there.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
yeah, but that's really pretty much it.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So it hasn't really been much because you still haven't given me a lot of things.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there. So on our end, me and Justin have been spending quite a bit of time creating a code generator system. So it's a tool application that we've made that basically queries the database because our database is huge. It's getting bigger by the day, like as we refine the design and stuff like that. And so when we've got a data access layer and a mapping layer and custom objects to hold that data in the program, and there's a lot of copying and pasting in order to pull that out, and a lot of typing and a lot of really redundant work, and it has to happen, but it's super time consuming. So we stopped that almost immediately and created a utility that just hits the database and generates the code for us. And so we just import that code into the game itself and then use it, and it works out great. So we actually finished that yesterday. It's like done. That whole application is completed. Actually, there's a couple little tweaks, but like seriously, an hour and I'll fix those. So we've got a significant tool now that's going to be able to be used for everything else. So the battle engine, or the battle simulator tool, the content creation tool, and the game itself. So we were, up until this point, we've been using temporary data. So we've just been like making stuff up, throwing it in the program, and we've hit a few walls with that because the data is not consistent. And every time we change the design in some way, then the temp data needs to be changed. And that sucks. It's just a waste of time. So we're going to be able to now really use this now and move forward a little bit quicker on the actual data front. Because we're at a point now where the game needs data. And so, I mean, that's why we stopped working on the game itself to create this tool. So that's done there. Pretty excited about that.
Yeah, and like you said, the game is very data heavy. So even as we go through this, our databases are going to be changing constantly.
Right.
So if we change one of these databases, add a new field, we can it's really easy, seconds with this new generator to just generate those files and import them.
Otherwise, I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it would still be 10 or 15 minutes to go back and modify the code just to include one new field. Or we've already found it. We made a spelling mistake in the database, like in the column name. And so we had to go back and change all the code that referenced it. And so now you just hit the button, it regenerates it all, and away we go. So works out great. And Kelsey, on your end, you've been working on the item generator. So
special unit.
Oh, special units. You're working on the item.
With the item gen.
So we originally, our original intent was that we were going to create every unit in the game manually. And so we're still going to do that. We're still going to create a lot of special items and special units with custom stats and all that kind of stuff. But we thought it would be cool if there was some amount of variety, unpredictability with some of the items and some of the special units you can come across. So we're creating a system that allows you to create randomly the abilities and statistics of some of the special units. So they'll all be like a skeleton, but there'll be variations on a skeleton. So if you see a skeleton in your town that you want to hire, it's not going to be the same skeleton everywhere in every game. You're going to actually have to look at the unit and say, oh, this is a rare skeleton. And we have 3 rarities, right? We've got common, uncommon, and rare. And each of them has each of them has different ranges. So each rarity has different ranges of hit points and strength and all those kind of things. So, and even cost. So sometimes you might randomly get a really high cost crappy unit, and then you go, that's crap, and then just not bother. But the opposite might be true sometimes too, where you find a really good deal on a really powerful unit, and you're like, sweet, and it benefits you. So so there, and then so there's the same with items as well. So you'll find a sword that adds 1 to your war skill, but there might be a rare sword that adds maybe 5 or something like that. So so you've been working on that utility, the generating the special units. So how's that going?
Well, I mean, it's going fairly well. Like when we designed it and everything, we kind of had all our classes and functions
we've got
and
a
stuff.
pretty solid design on it.
And so I actually implemented all those things, like the skeleton version of them, so then it's kind of there. But
so what's the biggest challenge next?
Well, actually, the biggest challenge you guys kind of solved with the code generator, because
Right.
I needed data right, because I need the upper and lower limits of like the
Right.
ranges of everything. And now, so I would have actually had to like go in there and write it all out or type
Right.
it all out and hard code it all. Whereas now I can just kind of use that thing.
And it's literally one function call and bam.
yeah,
got all the
and
data.
you got it. So that was going to be it.
Yeah, well, that's great then. So then you can move forward with that. And now that you're freed up working on that, you'll probably be hitting the special item. All right, yeah, the items. The
yeah,
item
but I would have
generator.
had. Well, it's very similar to that. Just
Sure.
yeah. So
I think
same
it's a
problem.
little bit simpler than the special unit.
Yeah, it definitely is. But I mean, still hitting the database, having that
Yeah, it's going to be big.
was definitely a problem.
And then the next thing I'll be tackling is the framework for multiplayer and the networking stuff. So I've never done the networking for really anything. So what I actually want to do is create a sandbox application that's external from the game to understand how it works, and then I'm gonna design. I'm gonna kind of retrofit in a way the design and I'm probably gonna have to make some tweaks to the core design again to make that fit in. Something we should have maybe done earlier, probably, but it is what it is. You live and learn as you go along. So that's basically it on that front. So I think that's about it where we're at now. So you're going to be finishing special units. You're going to be taking on the item generator. I'll be doing the networking framework, and you'll be continuing with banners, characters, items,
All the things.
all the things, because we haven't given you shit else to do.
All the things the same
Yeah.
things that I can do without any information.
Like I say though, I mean it'll come to a point soon. It's got to, like, where we
Yeah.
start putting these designs in. It seems like every step we take, we realize more.
Yeah.
And then we go, oh, and then we have to take another 2 steps back. It's coming. It's going really good.
I really honestly, the thing that I have nightmares about is the day when you guys are like, yep, we're done. Now we just need artwork. And I'm like,
That's gonna happen. It's got to happen.
yeah. And then it's just all going to be on me. And you guys are going to be sitting there.
It won't
watching the
happen. It
clocks.
won't happen because of how I think we're executing it. So
Yeah.
when we start working on the main core of the game right now, everything we're doing is tools. Like,
Yeah.
we're just creating tools to be able to create the game itself. So the first thing we're going to do, though, is once we get to that point, though, is a skeleton of all the interfaces. And then we're going to make them work, right? So once we have the skeleton of the interface in place, then it's like, here it is. And we're going to use, like, crap graphics, just like square outlines where the HUD should be. And then you just make them. So
Yeah.
so it won't be last minute.
I sure hope not.
It won't be last minute, hopefully. It won't be. We can't make the game work without an interface. So we have to do the interface before we can put the functionality in. So it won't be last minute.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that it happens fairly soon. Like,
I mean,
within the next month or 2.
Yeah. Famous last words.
I think I literally said that. Although I think I said month and a half.
You say that every single. You're so bad. This is the thing we always get in an argument over, because you
Yep.
always want to put a timeline on things, and I
Yep.
never want to put
You
a
never
timeline.
do, and I always do.
And you always do.
Well, here's the thing. I like setting some form of goal.
Well,
You know what I
it's
mean?
good to
And
have goals,
yeah.
absolutely.
And I mean, I guess.
And it's good to set deadlines for
Yeah.
yourself because that's how you get things done.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
And that's all
we're
it
putting
is.
it out into the world, and everybody.
Sure, but we did make a disclaimer.
The
There
four
was
people that listen to this have expectations.
Yeah, but we did put a disclaimer out on one of the episodes.
We did,
remember?
yeah.
Which one was that? It was Try Stuff.
No, because one of
7 or 8 somewhere where we said we're going to talk about this because that's what we're going to do. We're going to give people insight, but know this:
That's right.
nothing is held. We are not accountable for any of it.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, you know what? And plus, this is the first major project we've done too. So we're figuring it out. So. Yeah, but you are right that it doesn't mean a lot. 1 month doesn't mean a lot.
No, it really doesn't. And I think that's probably the biggest lesson with any project that you're doing for the first time is that you never actually know how long things are going to take.
Yeah.
And there's just no way to anticipate all of the things that you don't know.
And quite frankly,
yeah.
and that's a good point. And we kind of shot ourselves in the foot a little bit because this game is way bigger than we thought. And
Yeah.
if there's any like aspiring game developers out there, just go so small, like unfathomably small for your first project because it's going to be bigger than you think. Only that amount of big will still be manageable.
Yeah.
We're too deep into this now to quit, right? We're
Yeah.
too deep. And so we're just gonna have to plow through and learn some hard lessons and make her happen.
Yeah.
But ideally, we would have started with a much smaller project.
Well, even on my end, right? I think for the very beginning, what is this, like 7 years ago now? I don't know. It's been a long time. My list of illustrations didn't really change for a really long time.
Yeah.
But in the last couple of years, it's like tripled.
Yeah.
So it's like, it used to be like 100, which I thought was at the time was a lot.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be like 300. It's going to be like so many more things.
Yeah, I mean, it was only in
Yeah.
the last few months that we're like, hey, you want to do 100 items?
Yeah.
Sure. Sure, I guess.
You betcha.
Oh, well, yeah. So we're going to keep trudging. And but yeah, just make sure that you know that there's probably going to be things that come up in 1 month. We may not be where we say we are. But we'll hope for the best. We'll stay positive, and we are making more progress now than we ever have. So,
I mean, my New Year's resolution for 2017, and I say this every year, but this year I'm really going to do it, is that I really want to try and prioritize this project.
Right.
So that I actually get like a really good amount of stuff done.
That'd be great.
And
I mean,
it's hard because you
yeah.
have to make sacrifices in anything,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so you really have to say, okay, I'm going to do 2 things this year instead of 5 things.
Right.
Because the one thing that I'm going to be doing is 300 illustrations,
Yeah.
right? So it's like you're putting a lot of things on hold until
Yeah.
the next year, but the fact is that doing it piecemeal is not.
We gotta get her done.
So, yeah.
And I know, and me and Justin had a big talk about this. Actually, and Kelsey too. Yeah, he's been hanging out for a few days here, and so we had some talks. But we talked yesterday with Kelsey as well, and it's the same kind of thing. It's let's make this a priority because it's got to get done if we want to get on with things. And Kelsey got Star Wars Armada board game, and he's like, well, are we ever gonna play this? And I'm like, we'll play it, we will, but it's gonna have to wait for a bit because we need to have these priorities in place. So yeah, but like I say, I'm not gonna be super critical of us too much right now.
No.
Because the last really since spring of last year, but even more in the last few months, like it's been going really well.
Well, you guys are putting in a lot of hours.
Lots of time
Yeah.
right now, and it is going very well, and we're seeing some really good results, and I would love to show more, but no, what do we show? Like these tools are just a huge block of code that work great for us, but they're meaningless, and these tools we didn't have a clue. I mean, I know game developers make tools, and I know, but in my mind, I always thought big games need tools, but small games don't need tools, and that's not true at all. Like we've got how many 3 or 4 different tools outside of the game now that we made. We've got the battle engine, the code generator, the content creation tool. I guess that's it.
Well, we're gonna be doing a story one as well.
Right, and the story one. No, that's the content creation
content,
tool.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's still 3 external tools that we had no idea, and they're full applications. full-featured applications. One of them is going to be public, so we have to spend a little bit more time making it usable. Like the content that's the content creation tool, because it will be released with the game, so it has to be usable and presentable. Versus the database tool and the battle engine tool, especially, just ugly as hell. We didn't put error checking in, so it breaks. But we know what not to do. We're not going to spend time on it because we don't care. It doesn't matter. It works for what we need, and if we accidentally crash it, whatever. We just load it back up again and know, oops, we screwed that up. But the content creation tool, though, needs to be polished a little bit more. But that's 3 tools that we had no idea that we needed. And we cannot make this game without the content creation tool. Originally, we were just like, let's throw entries into the database. Thousands of entries. And worse than that is the connection between the data. We can't handle it. It's too much. We need a system to handle it for us. So anyways, lessons learned, and we're pushing forward, and it's going really well now. So, and I think we're going to renew our efforts here going into 2017, and you'll see some stuff. You'll see some stuff. So next topic, I want to talk about the story. Now, we had like a brief conversation right before this where we had discovered a massive miscommunication between us. So if you don't know what we're talking about, I started a story that was supposed to be a short story as a prequel that led up to the events of the game. The short story was originally going to be 2 or 3 pages. It ballooned into a novella and then eventually a short novel.
Yeah, if you're watching this or listening to this, you should definitely go back and listen to some of our previous podcasts.
I think I can't remember. It's episode 3 or 4. We did we did a 3 or 4 episode 3 or 4 of Try Stuff. We actually had six of us. We got a bunch of friends and we analyzed the first draft of the first 3 chapters.
Yeah.
So it's a big project, and then Erika was helping me write it. We were kind of co-writing it for quite a while there, and then she got busy, so I kind of just said, you know what, I'm gonna finish this up. I finished off the last 4 or 5 chapters, and I gave it to a few people to edit past that, but I have yet to make the final edit pass on it. Now, I spoke with you in the summer, and I said, because you haven't had a lot of hand in the last few chapters.
No, I really haven't looked at it for a really long time.
And this was over a year ago. That we kind of finished this.
Yeah.
And since then, I've gotten better as a writer, and so when I look back at it, which was one of my first major works, there's issues there. So what I was suggesting to you was that we just leave it. Errors and everything. I mean, I'll do my final edit pass, but we're not going to fix any major issues, and we're not going to rewrite parts of the story. But you interpreted that to mean the story's done. Mm-hmm. We're dropping it, and it's never going to see the light of day.
Well, I don't know if I had thought in my head that it would never see the light of day, but I just thought this was like a thing it wasn't going to be discussed anymore.
And that was not
wrong.
My intention at all. My idea was that we're just going to minimize the effort on it, and the project is just going to stand on its own legs, flaws and everything. And I still think that it's not horrible, and I still think that it adds value to our world. And for people who are interested in the extended information of this world, that it's still entertaining. So I do want to put it out there. So the next question, the question I pose to you guys is, what do we do with it now? So it still needs another pass of editing. I've got all the notes from 2 other people. So it will take some time. So that means, where do I fit it in time-wise? Do I prioritize the game and get to some milestone before we do that? Or do I say, you know what, let's take 2 weeks, plow that out, and then release it? Do we release it all at once? Do we make it kind of an ongoing kind of thing where it's like, let's release chapter by chapter, which I think was our original intention. At one point, we had talked about doing a review of chapters 4 through 8 and getting another panel in and doing a podcast with that. Do we still want to do that? And just say, for interest's sake, and do we even want to take that feedback and do an edit before we release it? Where do we stand?
I want to hear what you guys have to say first, because I have a feeling that I'm going to be the devil's advocate.
She's going to rock the boat here. So, okay, go ahead. What do you guys think? Now, you guys have both read the story, but haven't had a huge role on the development of it. You guys came in kind of after I was done.
Yeah, no, because I didn't know you guys wanted to do another panel for 4 to 8, so it's the first I've heard of that.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, so guess that might change things, but I guess I'll just say what I was thinking before, and mostly what I was thinking was just from a straight up marketing standpoint was that we need to kind of start putting some content out there. We do have the story that's kind of, well, pretty much completed.
Yeah.
Minus a few edits here and there. So if we start throwing that out like a chapter a week or bi-weekly or something like that, then at least it's getting something out there. Because right now we're, like what Tyson said earlier, we're working on tools. So this is some content we can get out meanwhile. And then later on, when we actually start to get some of the graphics in there, we can send out some screenshots. It's getting some content early.
So I like that idea. Now, here's the only issue that I can potentially see with that is our original idea was to release it up to the point where we release the game. So when you finish the story, then you jump into the game. If we start releasing now, which I like on a content front, there's going to be a gap from when we finish the story to when the game's released. Now, do you foresee that as a problem where here's the story done, now you don't get to see anything about this until the game's done in another however many months?
I guess it sort of comes down to like our estimations of when
our
we're releasing
estimates
the
are
game.
horrible. We just talked about that.
Yeah, so I mean it's a bit messy, right? Because you could release a chapter a week and be done in 2 months, or you could release it every 2 months and be done in
I see
6
what you're
months,
saying.
right?
Yeah. Well, if we release a chapter a week, there's 23 chapters, so it's 5-ish months.
Yeah.
So theoretically, we could start fairly soon, and by the time that's done, we will likely have content, like Justin was saying, to continue the momentum of that.
I mean, honestly, we've been sitting on this thing for a long time, and really, if we had done what we had originally intended to do with this thing, it would have been out in the world for like 2 years at this point,
That's
really.
true.
So I really honestly don't think it matters so much because, if people are going to use this as a, what's the word I'm looking for? Are you trying to make me sit close to the... Because I always sit too far away.
Loves being far away.
I'm so far away. If people are using this sort of as a way to feel out what our world is going to be like and what our characters are like, then the more time they have to peruse that, the better, right? Yep. Because everything we add from that point forward is just going to be informed by the story, right? Right. So, that can only just create more... detail and more interest and things like that.
So the general consensus is that I don't think we need to really wait for making sure that...
I don't think we need to worry about timelines if we're going to put it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, in theory, I guess, like, I don't know how much interest there'd be, but, like, you could still do the panels on the chapters and, like, just to get everyone's view on it, even though you're not editing it per se.
Right. And there is validity there, too, because as an artist... I still want the feedback. I think we're okay with saying, you know what, this is done and we're moving on, but what are the lessons I can learn from it? And I think that a review is still relevant there.
Well, and that being said, I mean, even if we release it and then you do a panel and make a couple edits, why not release it again? Who cares?
Yeah,
right?
that's true too. Just tack a version number on it.
Yeah, like this is now the newest version now after we did this panel. So
yeah,
here you go. It's kind of the same, but
and people who've already read it probably aren't going to miss out on a lot. They can either go back and take a look at what we changed.
So would you leave the old versions up, or would you just have the new version and take
you could leave the old versions
away?
up. I think chapters 1 to 3 are still on the website right now.
Yeah, they sure
the
are.
Unedited versions, they're still there.
Yeah.
And so you would, if you wanted to follow along, you'd read the crappy versions to see what the podcast was talking about. If you read the new version,
you were interested in writing, yes. But if this was just about us providing story content, then we wouldn't want old versions
if
out
you
there.
were if you were a power fan or a power user kind of guy who's really taken interested in it. Well, we did have one guy who rewrote the first chapter. For fun's sake. He liked the world and thought the characters are cool and wanted to put his take on it. That's awesome. That was so cool. So, I mean, there are people out there who are interested in that kind of thing. So, yeah, here's the broken version. Here's our analysis of it. And then you can follow along kind of thing. So we could probably just leave them up.
Yeah, I don't see, just throw them in an archive or something like that. If you want them, here they are. But this is the newest version.
Yep. Okay, so, I mean, I think that sounds... That sounds fine. So, okay, so what should I do timeline-wise? Like, is it something that I just fit in casually? Do I make it a priority to get her done in a week? Or what should we do?
Okay, this is what I'm going to say about this. Is that, honestly, like, creatively, I guess it doesn't really matter to me because my input into it is only like half the story, right? Really, it's more your baby, right? So...
You'll always have the cabin in the woods.
I will always have the cabin in the woods. Oh, my cabin. Oh, I miss you so much. So there's going to be way less detail in the last half of this story than there is in the first half.
Just to catch you up real quick, it was this great thing. It was a moment in our analysis. So she's really good at flowering up the descriptions. I write very, like, step by step, things happen. And I feel like my flow is good, but a lot of my descriptions I'm still working on. So she's really good at the description part. So she'd go back and like describe all the things. So at the very beginning of the story, like the most intense thing.
And then Tyson would take it all away.
I didn't take it all away. I left most of it in.
No.
But there was this one where he was approaching the cabin at the beginning, and it's like really this tense scene, and there was like half a page describing the history of the cabin and the wood that was made out of it.
A paragraph and a half. Come on.
It was pretty funny though, and it wasn't. Neither of us even caught onto it. And then our friend Sarah was just like, "Do you think that during the most critical scene in the book, you should spend half a page talking about the wood that goes into making that cabin?"
No.
And we're like, "Right."
Yeah,
so,
pretty much.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
At that moment, it was all I had. That's all I have to say.
So continue.
Yeah. So what I guess what I'm saying is that it doesn't really matter to me how you want to treat the story, how you want that to be used. If you want to put it all out at once, or if you want to, piecemeal it out. But I think from what you were saying about the marketing, it definitely, if we're going to be using it as a part of our general social media strategy, it's better to release it a part at a time, because then you're right, that gives us content that is filling in gaps between podcasts, between everything else. So
okay. I mean, sure. I think that's a good strategy. So now the question is, like I said, it's not quite done. How much of a focus do I make it?
I don't think it should be a focus at all, honestly.
Okay. So I find a few spare minutes. I fill it in, and if it takes a half a month or a month or 2 months, then whatever. Whenever I finish that, then we just start trickling it out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because like Kelsey said, I mean, we could be working on this game for another year, another 2 years. We don't know. It could be 6 months from now.
Yeah.
But honestly, I really do feel that it should be the best it can be before it goes out.
Sure.
And sure, if more changes are made in the future, then that's fine. We can throw those old posts into an archive. But really, we should make sure that it's at least it's as good as we can make it.
Sure, absolutely. I totally agree.
Or as good as you can make it.
Yeah, sure.
Because I'm not going to spend any time on it.
And in theory, you can always release it faster later. If all of a sudden we're done the game's 3 months more than or faster than we think, then just say, oh, here's the rest of it, right?
Right. And that's a good problem to have, where it's just like, oh, we finished the game early, I guess we'll release it all. Yeah, that's a good point too. And then the other side is, in terms of priority, the game has to be the priority. So if I've got a few minutes and it's like, let's take a look at it, or I need a break from programming, then I can take a look at it. But yeah, I think that the game needs to happen, whereas the story, even if the story never got released, the game is still needs to be good. So
yeah, and if we think about it that way, even if we release it, even if we never release it, it gets released later on.
Right.
Then it's just additional stuff, right? It's just more stuff for people to enjoy about the world we've created.
Sure.
So I don't really think it matters what time that this happens at, but yeah, it can't be the priority, because that's never what it was intended to be.
Yeah.
It was always just intended to be a tool for us to get our heads into this space, to create our characters, and also to have some additional content for people to enjoy while we're creating this thing. So so I think we just have to always keep that in mind.
Okay, good. Well, I think that answers the question. I think that's a nice little way to handle that. So anything else?
No. I think I just want to, because the last time that we had talked about social media and how we're going to be better with that. And we're not yet.
We totally are.
No, we're not.
We totally are.
I was
We've been-
non-existent, so I am better.
We
You
totally
are better. Yeah, you are. You exist in social media now.
I've
so
been
that's a big
posting
step.
a picture, a new art piece every week
Yes, but not
with
game
lots of work.
stuff.
Yeah, but we're coming along.
So
with that.
this is because you always talk about, because when you're coding or you're working on these tools or whatever, you don't really have anything to share.
Yeah.
And I was just gonna say that you totally do have stuff to share, because part of social media is taking selfies, taking shots of your workspace.
Sure.
Like just keep in
Okay,
mind
fair enough.
that
Fair enough.
while you're working, it doesn't really matter what you're working on.
Yeah.
Your ability to extend that out into the internet universe is a part of the process.
Okay,
right?
fair enough.
Because
Yeah.
it's
So
about,
I think we can.
process,
I agree. I think I can make a better effort on that. And when I'm sitting at my machine, just fire off a little description of what we're working on.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
a screenshot of 363 errors that we had the other day.
Totally. That's an excellent one, actually. I think that would have been great.
That made me so mad. You know what the crazy thing is? There were not 363 errors. There was
one.
literally one that propagated to 363 errors. Yeah, we were pretty upset when we first saw that. Saying that, we had a miracle day on Thursday. Just coding huge blocks of code just worked over and over and over. It was just ridiculous. That never happens. We paid for it again on Friday when we spent so much time on something that we thought was going to be easy.
Yep. Well, that's kind of the norm. That's why
That's the
things
nature of the
take
beast.
so long when you're
Yeah.
programming. Like, this should take me 10 minutes, 3 hours later.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So anyways,
Okay.
thanks for that. And I'll try and be better at that.
Yeah.
And thanks for joining us. We will see you, next month for another dev report. And somewhere in between, I think we've got a couple of episodes lined up for that kind of thing. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.